Did Georgia attorney and avid Trump supporter Lin Wood threaten death upon Mike Pence? That's the question of the day. This is a legal question, and we're going to look at it from a legal perspective. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota, and today we're going to be talking about this. But if you like these legal and political short news stories, please hit like, hit subscribe, share them around, but most important, engage me in the comments. I want to know what you think. I do try and follow along and pop into the comments and answer questions when I see them. There's a lot, so it's kind of hard to do all of them, but I do occasionally pop in and answer questions, and this video is actually a response to a question or comment that I got on a previous Lin Wood video covering the tweets above. Now, I covered these yesterday, but I didn't see this one when I was grabbing those other tweets. This one was down a couple replies, and I just didn't see it. So I wish I had. I would have incorporated it into the last video. But this raises an interesting question of, does Lin Wood actually threaten Mike Pence? Let's see what he says here. He says, if Pence is arrested, Secretary Pompeo will save the election. Pence will be in jail awaiting trial for treason. He will face execution by firing squad. He is a coward and will sing like a bird and confess all. So the main thing there is facing execution by firing squad. Many people are incensed about this tweet from Lin Wood, saying it violates Twitter's rules of service, that it should be taken down, that he should be silenced in some way. That's all a separate discussion. Legal discussions are often divorced, and this is really important. They're often divorced from the wisdom, the propriety, the courtesy, whatever, the professionalism of an action. So you have to separate out what your personal feelings are about the character of the tweet and the character of the person to determine whether or not this is a legal or illegal thing to say. All right. And I know that's very, very hard for people to do because we want consequences for things we don't like. And lots of people immediately turn to the law and say, this should be illegal. Speech should almost never be illegal, but that's a separate topic. This speech, let's talk about what a threat is and why this isn't a threat. And in full disclosure, I am not a big fan of this sort of language being used by Lin Wood. I get the sentiment. He's being controversial. I do not think he has any intent to threaten Mike Pence, and I don't think that this legally qualifies as a threat in any way. But personally, it's not the way I would word it. That's okay. I'm not Lin Wood. And Lin Wood seems to have positioned himself to be a magnet of controversy and, to borrow a sort of biblical concept, to stand in the gap between what he is saying is truth and lies. And as such, he is putting out his his version of what is appropriate. Okay, so that's up to you and Lin. Again, drop a comment in the below. Tell me below and tell me what you think about it. That's great. But here we go. He'll be in jail awaiting trial for treason and will face execution by firing squad. So to determine whether something is a threat, a legal threat, we have to look first to the intent, and then it has to be unambiguous. So does Lin Wood intend to convey a threat to Mike Pence? Now, he's not talking to Mike Pence. He's talking to Twitter. So that doesn't automatically preclude it from being a threat, but it diminishes it pretty specifically. Typically, if you're conveying a threat, you convey it directly to the person, or if you're conveying a threat indirectly, it has to be conveyed in a way that you are reasonably certain the other person will not only see what was said, but also get the threat. You have to intend that threat to carry through the third party that is delivering the message. In this case, Lin Wood doesn't even tag Mike Pence. He does up above in a previous comment, but anyone who has a significant following on Twitter will tell you how rare it is to actually see individual tweets because so much stuff is happening. And when you have a big account, everything you tweet gets tons of notifications and stuff like that. So it doesn't look like there's any intent for Mike Pence to not only see this tweet, but also to get a conveyance of a threat from it. The other problem is that the language is not direct. The language is not direct. So threats of violence typically have to have direct meaning, direct literal meaning. So you can't really rely on things like metaphor or idioms that don't specifically indicate it. And the reason for that is because our protections of free speech are so strong. We also have to cover the implications that Lin Wood is a private citizen and Mike Pence is an extremely public figure of government. Therefore, this should be even more protected speech, as we have a right to criticize our elected officials. And that right probably extends beyond what we would even do for a normal person. Now, again, because of their elevated public status, there can be some extra sensitivity around a threat of violence. They're a nationally elected figure. Violence against them would cause a big disruption and a whole bunch of mess. So there's like this balancing test going on. But look at the language here. If Pence is arrested, okay, so all of this is conditional on Mike Pence being arrested for treason, which is an unlikely outcome. No matter how you feel about anything, that is unlikely to occur. Then Secretary Pompeo will save the election by being appointed as vice president, and that Pence will be in jail awaiting trial for treason. And then it says he will face execution by firing squad. Well, the treason does carry the federal death penalty. So it is entirely possible that someone facing trial for treason or awaiting trial for treason will then face execution. I don't know if they do it by firing squad anymore. That would probably be lethal injection, but you know, who knows? We don't have too many treason executions going on these days to see what would happen. But the short answer to all of this, is this a threat of violence? No. No, it is not. Lin Wood is not saying that he will be the firing squad. He is not telling Mike Pence that he will shoot him. There is nothing about this that conveys a threat in any way. And if I would not suspect much legal action because of this, this is inflammatory speech on Twitter. Now, will Twitter take action against it? That's another reason I wouldn't recommend this type of speech for Lin Wood. This type of thing could get his account suspended on Twitter because Twitter is terrible at enforcing their rules. But that is a discussion for another day. So again, tell me what you think down in the comments below. Hit like, hit subscribe, share this. Let's talk about the legal topics surrounding these political figures at this hotly contested time. We haven't had any sort of election contest like this in ever. Sort of. Not when any of us were alive. You got to go way back to 1876 for something this heated. So, all right, guys. Thanks a bunch. We'll talk to you soon. And I will see you around. Have a good day. Peace. Peace.